Okay, here we are back with our 3 cutout pattern pieces, the 8, 7, and piece number 3. And you can actually see my face this time, so we're making progress. But we are going to cut out the front and back of our hoodie. So right here we have piece number 1, which is the front, and piece number 2, which is the back. And these are both cut unfold pieces, which means that I'm going to place it on the fold so that when I cut it out I have 2 halves. So I'll have this half and then another half over here. So it'll be like a mirror image, and we will get into that. So I have my fabric laid out just as it was for the last part, like when I cut out these other 3 pieces. And I'm going to have to refold it because I need to have 2 folds so that I can fit my fabric on there, or my pattern piece on there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make note of where this fold is right here. And then I'm going to take my selvage, so I'll find my selvage over here. I'm going to grab my selvage and I'll come down, find where my fold is. So I'm going to take my left hand and I'm just finding where the fold is. And I'm just going to pinch that with my finger. And I'm going to open it up and I'll take my selvage and put it right there in the middle. Then I'll create a fold over here. I'm going to do that same thing over here where I take the end where the selvage is. I have the pinch where the middle is, and I'm going to put the selvage in the middle. And I can take this other selvage and they'll meet in the middle like that. And then I can lay everything out so that there is another fold like so. So I have my double fold all laid out, and you'll notice that my selvages are still parallel to my fold. And my selvage is also parallel to my grain line, right? Or also known as lengthwise grain or warp grain. So I'm just going to measure to make sure that they're parallel. So this is 14 inches from this selvage to the fold. And down here, that is also 14 inches. If I just adjust it a little bit, that would be a perfect 14 inches. Okay, so I have those 2 that are parallel to each other, and then I'm going to measure up here as well to make sure. So that's 16 inches. And that is 16 inches. So I didn't perfectly find the middle, it looks like, but that's okay as long as I have enough for my 2 pattern pieces. So I'm going to go look back at my pattern guide sheet, and you'll see that I'm using the View B layout, suggested layout. I'm doing a size small, so I'm going to use the one that says XS to S, or small, it's extra small to small, but there also is one that goes for medium, large, and extra large, and it's pretty similar. For this part, it's the exact same, so either way, we're going to be doing the same. So it tells me I'm going to take my piece number 1, which is the front of the hoodie, and I'm going to lay it out on the fold, like so. So that's why I did this whole double fold thing, is so that I have 2 folds, one for piece 1 and one for piece 2. So then I will take my second piece and I'll lay it out on the other fold, like so. I have a fold there and a fold here. I don't need to measure anything this time like I did before when I had the grain line, because they're right on the fold. So I know that the fold is already parallel to my lengthwise grain and my selvage. So if I put it on the fold, it's already going to be the right measure, or like it's already going to be right in line and hang nice with the grain line. As I lay this out, I want to make sure that this pattern piece is near the edge, either here or here, so I'm not wasting fabric. I'm going to choose to actually measure it, or to line it up on this end, because I already have a big chunk of fabric right here, and so if I lined it up right here, then I'd have this chunk and this chunk. So I'm going to try and keep as much of my fabric together, so if I have something that I want to use my fabric for later, this extra fabric, I have as big of a piece as I can get. So I'm going to push it up here so I could save space. Keep it on the folds, but push it up here. And you'll notice that this goes off a little bit. That's because I'm not doing the extra large, I'm doing the small, so I only need to cut to right here, this point right here. So that still gives me a little bit of space to cut. But if you're doing the extra large, you want to make sure that this is all the way on. I'm just trying to save as much fabric as I can, and I'll move this as well, keeping everything on the fold. Once I have it laid out and I have everything lined up on the fold, I can go ahead and pin. So I'm just going to pin here at the top first, and remember you're pinning inside the lines for your cut lines. So for whatever size you are doing make sure you're pinning inside those lines so that when you cut it out, the pattern piece sticks to your fabric, not to this loose fabric. You want it to stick to the pattern or the piece that you're cutting out. I'm going to pin that. I'm going to pin the corners first. So I'll pin all my corners. And now I'm going to make sure to get extra pins on any curves so that doesn't move while I'm cutting. And I'll put a pin about every 3 inches throughout the rest of the project. Okay, so this one's ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and do the other one just the same. A reminder, this piece, it has a different length for view A and view B. We're doing view B, so make sure that when you cut it out, you do the view B option. Otherwise, you're going to have kind of a shorter hoodie, which you do not want, because that's not the option we're doing. And you won't have space for your pocket. So even if you're like, it'd be fun to have a shorter hoodie, you won't have space for your pocket, so don't do that. I'm going to pin the corners just inside my cutting line. Remember, I'm keeping this whole thing right on the edge of the fold, which hopefully you can see in the video. I don't know how well you can see it, but I'm going to put it right on the edge. If I even put a 1/4 inch, then I'm adding a 1/4 inch on one side and a 1/4 inch on the other side, so that's a total of a 1/2 inch, okay? So you want to make sure that you're staying right on the fold when you have a place on center fold line. And these pattern pieces, for some reason, do not have the regular place on fold arrow. They have a green line and then they tell you to place on fold. Normally there is that bracket arrow that tells you, but sometimes they just give you a green line and also tell you to place it on the fold. But that's not what you typically see. So I'm pinning about every 3 inches. You don't have to be as careful over here. When I cut out, I'm not going to cut this side right here, and I'm not going to cut this side because I want the fold. I'm only cutting one of each of these. So this is going to open up so that I have a symmetrical half for both parts of the front. Alright, once you have gotten this far, do not cut yet, okay? You're not going to cut. You need to get checked off before you can move on. So to get your layout checked off again so that you make sure you don't make any mistakes when you're cutting. Because once you cut, that's pretty permanent. So go ahead and get checked off now.